Good day everyone, especially to our instructor, Ma'am Janice Magsayo. And today, we are given the task to discuss about the specific topics and issues in Lesson 5, COVID-19. And before anything else, let me introduce myself as well as my co-reporters. I am Jumal M. Cibalios together with Miss Wetzel Posadas, Miss Ancharis Arnaez, Miss Ria Miratilla, Mr. Janville Rabe, and Mr. Rap Rap Tilos. So before we will discuss the whole topic, let me discuss first the learning objectives. So at the end of this lesson, we can exhibit fluency in describing COVID-19 in terms of its origin, structure, causes, effects, and prevention. So i-discuss siya sa mga reporters the origin of COVID-19. Unsa ang sinugdan sa COVID-19, no? Kabaluta what is COVID-19, but sometimes naiuban nga wa kabalo hagikan or ngano nag-exist siya. Next is the structure. So what are the structure of COVID-19? Because the coronavirus disease naa siya yung mga parts nga siya ang nagdala sa or mauni siya ang kanang parts sa virus. And third is the causes. So what are the causes of COVID-19 and the effects of COVID-19, o what unsa ang mga epekto sa COVID-19 sa itong lawas, unsa atong makuha if maka-acquired ta ani nga virus. And then lastly is the prevention. So what are the safety measures that ang atong buhaton in order for us to prevent or to avoid coronavirus disease. So, introduction. This pandemic has affected thousands of people who are either sick or are being killed due to the spread of this disease. The COVID-19 has resulted in a significant loss of human life around the world, and it poses an unprecedented threat to public health, food system, and the workplace. So, we all know the fact that COVID-19 really affect thousands of people, no? COVID-19 changed the way we live, the way we act, and the way we play worldwide, no? As like what we've observed, COVID-19 really harmful sa mga tao. Kay bisan og simple ra siya nga cough, bisan simple ra siya nga colds, nga kanang ubo sipon, is that it can ruin your life, no? COVID-19 is really harmful to our body. So COVID-19 has resulted in a significant loss of human life. Kay karon panahona, the cases of COVID-19 continuously arise. Nagkataas ang kaso sa COVID-19 as well as sa mga nangamatay sa COVID-19, because COVID-19 is dangerous. So threat siya sa public health, sa health sa mga katawhan, not only for nga kanang wa siya gipili, mapobre man ka, madato man ka, matiguwang man ka, mabata man ka, as long as nagpuyo ka sa kalibutan na COVID-19 is a threat to our life. So the pandemic's devastating effects, tens of millions of people are at risk of falling into extremely poverty. No? Because of COVID-19, we are experiencing now a pandemic wherein all of us controlled. Nakontrolado ta because kay ang COVID-19 dali ra ka siya mutapot to ang lawas. So pobre pa ta ni sa muta og ka pobre because sa COVID-19. So in the number of people who are undernourished, which is presently estimated to be around 690 million, we all have been affected by the current situation, and all of us are suffered by this pandemic. So we can't deny the fact that COVID-19 really affects our lives. It's like what we've experienced in this current situation. We are all suffered this pandemic. Kitang tanan walay gipili nga nagsuffer jud ta ani nga virus. So next. So however, the impact of the pandemic and its consequences are felt differently depending on our status as individuals and as a members of society. Yes, no, tinood juga siya guys, kay ang COVID-19 really affect our lives, no, as well as our livelihood. Kay tungod sa COVID-19 atong parents, kita dili ta makagawas, dili makatrabaho, and then naatay mga kailangan nato asikasuhin sa gawas, di ta ka dali-dali nga makalihok. But yes, the impact of pandemic really change our lives, but not all. Kay naay uban nga mga kwartahan wherein bisan pag unsa ka kuan wa gyapon sila naglisod. Kita ang kanang mga pobre katong mga poor is that ning samot og kalisod. Imbes lisod na daan tungod sa COVID-19 ning samot og kalisod. So the member of a society is differently impacted, all members, especially when it depends on the living status. So while some try to adapt to working online, homeschooling their children, and ordering food via Instacart, others have no choice but to be exposed to the virus while keeping society functioning. So because kay dili na to makaya nga naara sulstong balay, so naatay gipamuhat nga mga diskarte wherein kita makalihok ra gihapon ta. That's why naatay ang online, wherein through online we can work a lot. So no, it's like what we have gibuhat karon, like homeschooling, gamit ta as an online class nga kanang natadre sa balay, wherein bahalag nag-pandemic, basta tungod sa online class, so safe ra ta sa balay. So naiuban nga kanang through imbis kanang maglaag sila sa mall, maglaag sa mga restaurant para makaon, but through online maka-order ta via Instacart. Daghan kay mga online no nga kanang makapalit ta, like naiuban karon nga nagnegosyo kay nasa business through online selling. So naiuban nga walay mabuhat kundi i-expose na lang sarili para lang ang atong society magpadayon og paglambo. And kinsa man na sila, mo lang gitawag og atong mga frontliners. So we all know the fact that frontliners saves our lives. Why? Because they put their lives on risk just to save everyone. That's why we need to thank them because salamatan to sila kay kanang sila tabang sa tua para mag-work ang atong society. And then coronavirus disease 2019 has affected day-to-day life and is slowing down the global economy. So coronavirus disease affected day by day. Kada adlaw jud siya nag-aapekto sa tua, wherein ang global economy is that padayon og kaubos, wherein nagkagamay no, especially diri sa ang bansa, wherein naiuban ng mga establishments, naiuban nga mga atong mga negosyo nga nasirado because of COVID-19. So in that particular field, we can't deny the fact that COVID-19 changed the way we play worldwide. COVID-19 really affects our lives, and it can affect as well our livelihood. So at this moment, I will discuss to you guys the origin of COVID-19. So COVID-19 is the name given by the World Health Organization, or WHO, on February 11, 2020 for the disease caused by the novel coronavirus SARS-CoV-2. It began in late 2019 in Wuhan, China, and has expanded worldwide since then. COVID-19 is an acronym standing for 2019 coronavirus disease. COVID-19 is a SARS-CoV-2 disease that can cause what doctors called respiratory tract infection. Your upper respiratory tract, sinuses, nose and throat, or lower respiratory tract, windpipe, lungs can be affected. So, the origins of COVID-19, guys, is that it began in China. So, as like what we've see in the television, no, ang ato nakitaan sa balita wherein kabalo na ta nga ang COVID-19 is gikan siya sa Wuhan, China, nga nag-expand siya worldwide since 2019. And then karon, hangtod karon wag gyapon siya nawala. Imbes nga magkawala na siya, and then nagkapuno ragi naghapoy naaman hinuoy na naabot nga mga new variant like Delta, nakatong kusog siya, and bag-o lang karon lang jud is the Omicron variant, o gitawag nila og variant of concern. So, COVID-19 is a SARS-CoV-2 disease, but that what doctors call respiratory tract infection, because COVID-19 will affect your respiratory, and then by your sinuses, by your nose and throat. So, as well as your lower respiratory tract with your lungs. And mao ni isa sa ang lungs ang nga maka COVID-19 is that ang ato ang baga jud siya mo apekto og ayo. So, para nato masabtan ang origin of COVID-19, let me play to you guys the clip about the origin of COVID-19.
In December 2019, there was a cluster of pneumonia cases in the city of Wuhan in China. Some of the early cases had reported visiting or working in a seafood and live animal market in Wuhan. Investigations found that the disease was caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. The disease was subsequently named COVID-19. COVID-19 spread within China and to the rest of the world. On 30 January 2020, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. In this video, we'll take a quick look at what is currently known about COVID-19. Keep in mind that this is a new disease, and what's known is rapidly evolving and might change in the future.
So, we've seen in the video about the origin of COVID-19 as well as what is COVID-19. And to sum up with, researchers now realize that the latest coronavirus spread by respiratory droplets when an infected person coughs or sneezes. In general, the droplets do not travel more than a few feet and fall to the ground or to the surface in a few seconds. This is why physical distance is effective in avoiding spreads. So, coronavirus will spread through droplets, especially when a infected person will cough or sneezes. So, it is important for us to wear face masks because face masks played an important role in protecting our lives, especially in COVID-19 threat. This virus is very harmful. That's why we need to be conscious about our actions, especially when we are in crowded places. So physical distancing is so much important as it will help us to avoid the spreading of coronavirus. That's why we need to have a physical distance so that the spreading of virus will stop and we can save our lives as well as others. So, to continue the discussion about the structure of COVID-19, let me welcome to you guys Miss Swetzel Posadas as well as Miss Ancharis Arnaez.
Good day, everyone. I'm the next reporter for this discussion. So, for the discussion of structure of COVID-19, coronaviruses like the Middle East Respiratory Syndrome or MERS-CoV which had infected almost 2,500 individuals by the end of 2019, as well as the novel severe acute respiratory syndrome or SARS-CoV-2, are enveloped and spherical viruses that typically measure between 80 and 120 nanometers in size. The RNA genome or coronaviruses, which at a median length of 29 kb is the longest among all RNA viruses, is comprised of 6 to 10 open reading frames that are responsible for encoding both of replicase and structural proteins for the virus. Each of the components of the viral genome is packed into a helical nucleocapsid that is surrounded by a lipid bilayer. The viral envelope of coronaviruses is typically made up of 3 proteins and include the membrane protein, the envelope protein, and the spike protein. So that's it. And there's the viral envelope of coronavirus, typically made of 3 proteins, which are the membrane protein, the envelope protein, and the spike protein. So the structure of COVID-19, the first one, the number 1, bind to a lung cell. When a virus spike protein latches onto an ACE2 receptor, a protease enzyme slices off the spike's head. This releases fusion machinery, part of the spike stem that is compressed in a spring-like state. ACE2 normally helps regulate blood pressure. So as we can see at the picture, the image, so there's stem and ang spike. Ang spike mo attach siya, madapat siya sa stem. Ang kaning protease enzyme maoy mukat off sa head sa spike. And did you know nga ang kanisang ACE2, ang ACE2 protein mao ni siya ang door maoy gamiton sa virus para musulod siya sa imuhang cell. So if makasulod siya sa imuhang cell, muna ang virus mas spread na siya dito mo daghan. For the second structure, number 2, sleep inside the virus and lung cell membranes fuse, allowing the virus RNA, a molecule that encodes the genome, genetic instructions to pour into the cell's body. So, spike decapitation allows the fusion machinery to unfold. So, ang fusion machinery kay ma-unfold siya and the machinery insert itself into the cell membrane. So, i-insert siya sa cell membrane and pinches the membranes together. So, inig-insert niya, iabot niya ang duha ka membrane, iabot niya. Once nga maabot na, there's a channel forms, allowing N proteins and RNA to enter the lung cell. So, sa pagpinch niya and naabot ang duha, there's a channel nga ma-form and dinisulod ang RNA and the N protein. So, for this further discussion, I will give the floor to Miss Switzel Posadas to discuss. Miss Switzel Posadas, the floor is yours now.
So, once virus RNA is inside the cell, it presents about 24 genes to the cell's ribosomes, which translates genes into proteins. A ribosome is a cellular particle made of RNA and protein that serves as the site for protein synthesis in the cell. Some of those proteins stretches the endoplasmic reticulum, creating protective vesicles or sacs. Endoplasmic reticulum is a network of membranes inside a cell through which proteins and other molecules move. The virus uses its own RNA copying machine called e-polymerase to make duplicates of RNA inside the vesicles. Polymerase is an enzyme that synthesizes long chain of polymers or nucleic acids. Some of those copies are utilized to make more viral proteins such as the spike. Others are packaged into new virus particles which break out of the lung cell. So as you can see in the upper left side of the screen, we have the color light pink, I think, virus particles. So a virus particles or virion is a structure that has evolved to transfer nucleic acid from one cell to another. So sa iyahang kaatbang, we have the gray color, which is the lung cell. Lungs contains many different types of cells. Most cells in the lungs are epithelial cells. Epithelial cells line the airways and make mucus which lubricates and protects the lungs. The lungs also contains nerve cell, hormone producing cells, blood cells, and structural or supporting cells. So at the lower part, a channel forms allowing in proteins and RNA to enter the lung cell. So at the center of the screen, we have the virus particle, the lung cell, the virus RNA ribosome. Ribosomes create polymerase proteins that copy the virus genome. Virus proteins, at the lower part, we have the virus polymerase protein, in protein vesicle. In the upper right part, we have the endoplasmic reticulum. So here at the upper part of the of your screen, right upper part of your right of the screen, we have the nucleocapsid. A nucleocapsid is a capsid of a virus with the enclosed nucleic acid. Next, we have the envelope, spike glycoprotein. Spike glycoprotein, like coronaviruses, the SARS-CoV-2 genome encodes spike glycoproteins, which provide from the surface of mature virions. Next, we have the membrane protein. A membrane protein are common proteins that are part of or interact with biological membranes. Next, we have the small envelope protein. The nucleocapsid protein is a protein that packages the positive sense RNA's genome of coronavirus to form ribonucleoprotein. Structures enclosed within the viral capsid. Next, we have the genomic plus single-strand RNA. Genomic plus single-strand RNA contains only the genes needed for the infectious cycle and is simultaneously a messenger RNA. So next, we have breakout. Vesicles carrying newly formed viruses merge with the cell membrane. A vesicles is a structure within or outside a cell, consisting of liquid or cytoplasm enclosed by a lipid bilayer, opening a channel that allows the viruses to exit. One cell can release hundreds of viruses copies. It typically dies because its resources have been used up, or it is killed by the immune system. Some viruses head off to infect more cells. Others are exhaled into the air. So, once a viruses comes into your body, so your good viruses fight against those bad viruses So it typically dies because your immune systems fight against the bad viruses. So time elapses about 10 hours. So number 5, we have immune system defense measures. When infections begins, the innate immune system tries to immediately protect lung cells. An innate immune system is a defense system with which you were born. It protects you against all antigens. Innate immunity involves barriers that keep harmful materials from entering your body. The adaptive immune system gears up for a greater response. Innate immune system, an infective cell releases interferon proteins that alert neighboring cells to create molecules that try to stop virus particles from entering or reproducing. Interferon proteins are part of your natural defense. They tell your immune system that germs hundreds of viruses copies. It typically dies because its resources have been used up or it is killed by the immune system. Some viruses head off to infect more cells. Others are exhaled into the air. So, once a viruses comes into your body, so your good viruses fight against those bad viruses. So it typically dies because your immune systems fight against the bad viruses. So time elapses about 10 hours. So number 5, we have immune system defense measures. When infections begins, the innate immune system tries to immediately protect lung cells. An innate immune system is a defense system with which you were born. It protects you against all antigens. Innate immunity involves barriers that keep harmful materials from entering your body. The adaptive immune system gears up for a greater response. Innate immune system, an infective cell releases interferon proteins that alert neighboring cells to create molecules that try to stop virus particles from entering or reproducing. Interferon proteins are part of your natural defense. They tell your immune system that germs or cancer cells are in your body. Interferon also beckons cells such as macrophages. A macrophages is a type of white blood cell that surrounds and kills microorganisms, removes dead cells, and stimulates the action of other immune system cells in the bloodstream that can engulf virus particles. So next, we have the adaptive immune systems. Interferon also alert B cells. They produce neutralizing antibodies that might recognize parts of the spike protein and bind to it.
Thank you for the very informative report, Ms. Pusadas. And now, to continue the discussion about the causes of COVID-19, let me welcome to you guys Mr. Janvel Rabi. Now, it's your turn.
So, the causes of COVID-19. So, COVID-19 is caused by infection with a severe acute respiratory syndrome, coronavirus 2 or SARS-CoV-2. Virus strain. The disease is mainly transmitted via the respiratory route when people inhale droplets and small airborne particles that infected people exhales their breath, cough, talk, sneeze, or sing. So infected people are more likely to transmit COVID-19 when they are physically close. However, infection can occur over long distance, particularly indoors. Effectivity can occur 1 to 3 days before the onset of symptoms. Infected persons can spread the disease even if they are pre-symptomatic or asymptomatic. Most commonly, the peak viral load in upper respiratory tract samples occurs close to the time of symptom onset and declines after the first week after symptoms break. So, the SARS-CoV coronavirus 2 is a leading cause of COVID-19 is transmitted via pandemic. Its strains are transferred from the infected person to the healthy person through the air when they inhale the infected person's airborne particles. So kung ma-inhale mo ang hangin sa usa ka tawo nga na infections, diha magka-cause og COVID-19. And also this virus contain particles came into the air when infected persons talk, coughs or sneeze, and touching the area where virus contained particles are present also cause COVID-19. So magka-cause og COVID-19 kung makig-talk ka sa usa ka infected nga tawo, makig-talk ka og matouch nimo ang matouch nimo ang usa ka lugar nga naay virus. And it is not penetrable through the skin, but touching the eyes, mouth, or nose can serve as a pathway or coronavirus entry to the body. So ang skin, kung mag-touch ka kung matouch nimo ang lugar nga naay virus, then matouch nimo ang skin, dili siya necessary nga ma-infect ka tungod na siya sa ma-infect ka tungod na siya mahawid ka sa imong mata ba o ma-inhale nimo gamit sa imong nose. Og there are rare cases where virus transfer from the mother to child during pregnancy. So kung ang usa ka ginikanan infected siya sa usa ka virus, na ay possibility nga ang iyang anak nga giburos magka-cause naapoy COVID dala. And the continuation of this discussion is the effect of symptoms of COVID-19, which is discussed by Riami Ratelia.
Thank you for that wonderful report, Mr. Rabe. And now, to continue the discussion about the effects or symptoms of COVID-19, let me welcome Miss Riami Ratilia. Now, it's your turn.
Good day everyone, I'm Riami Gragata Ratilia, one of the reporter. So my task is to discuss the effects or symptoms of COVID-19. Symptoms of COVID-19 are variable, ranging from mild symptoms to severe illness. Common symptoms include headache, loss of smell and taste, nasal congestion and runny nose, cough, muscle pain, sore throat, fever, diarrhea, and breathing difficulties. People with the same infection may have different symptoms, and their symptoms may change over time. 3 common clusters of symptoms have been identified. 1 respiratory symptom cluster with cough, sputum, shortness of breath, and fever. A musculoskeletal symptom cluster with muscle and joint pain, headache, and fatigue. A cluster of digestive symptom with abdominal pain, vomiting, and diarrhea. In people without prior ear, nose, and throat disorder, loss of taste combined with loss of smell is associated with COVID-19 and is reported in as many as 88% of cases. We all know that COVID-19 seems to spread more easily. Signs and symptoms include respiratory symptoms and include fever, cough, and shortness of breath. In more severe cases, infection can cause pneumonia, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and sometimes death. The most common symptoms is kanang fever, kanang hilanat, then cough, ubo, then tiredness, pangapoy sa lawas, then the last is loss of taste or smell kanang pamuwadan kag panglasa or kanang panimhot. Then mo to siya ang the most common symptoms. Then the last common symptoms are sore throat kanang panguan sa imuhang tutunlan, panakit sa tutunlan, headache, kasakit sa ulo, diarrhea, a rash on skin, like kanang allergy or mga kanang rashes, red or irritated eyes, kanang sa imong mata, kanang action siya og kanang pamula. Then, that's the less common symptoms. Then the serious symptoms is kanang difficulties breathing or shortness of breath, kanang maglisod ka og ginawa. Second is loss of speech or mobility or confusion. Then last is chest pain, and that's the serious symptoms. Then mo to siya ang mga kasagaran nga mga symptoms sa kanang COVID-19. That's all my report. To continue the discussion, Mr. Rapraptilos, you may now proceed.
Thank you for that very informative discussion, Ms. Ortilia. And now, to continue the discussion about the prevention of COVID-19, let us welcome Mr. Rapraptilos.
I want to discuss to you the prevention of COVID-19. Preventive measures reduce the chance of infection include getting vaccinated. Get vaccinated as soon as it's your turn and follow local guidelines on vaccination. Getting vaccinated is important because we don't know how long protection endures for those who are immunized or for those who are vaccinated with COVID-19. But we do know that COVID-19 has changed exceptionally genuine ailment and passing for a part of individuals. And of the chance that you get COVID, you moreover chance giving it to cherish ones you may get exceptionally debilitated. Getting a COVID-19 vaccines may be more secure choice. And it is important to be vaccinated with COVID-19 because you have the protection if ever you get infected with COVID-19. Staying at home. Staying at home orders reduces the risk even more by removing human contact except with family members in home. Wearing a mask in public. Face covering limit the volume and travel distance of expiratory droplets dispersed when talking, breathing, and coughing. A face covering without vents or holes will also filter out particles containing the virus from inhaled and exhaled air, reducing chances of infection. Avoiding crowded places. Keeping distance from others. Maintain distance of at least 1 meter distance away from individuals who are experiencing respiratory symptoms. Ventilating indoor spaces, managing potential exposure situations, washing hands with soap and water often and for at least 20 seconds, practicing good respiratory hygiene, and avoiding touching eyes, nose, or mouth with unwashed hands. Customary hand washing is one of the most excellent way to expel germs and viruses. Avoid getting sick and prevent the spread of germs to others. Whether you are at home, at work, traveling, or out within the community, discover how hand washing with soap and water can protect you and your family. Those diagnosed with COVID-19 who believe that they may be infected are advised by to stay at home except to get medical care. Call ahead before visiting a healthcare provider. Wear a face mask before entering a healthcare provider's office, and when in any rooms or vehicle with other person, cover coughs and sneezes with a tissue. Regularly wash your hands with soap and water and avoid sharing personal household items. Regular and thoroughly clean your hands with either an alcohol base, hand rub, or soap and water. This eliminates germs that may be on your hands, including viruses. The following are the preventive measures from advice by the World Health Organization. The first one is identify suspect cases as quickly as possible, test and isolate all access infected in appropriate facilities. If you develop symptoms or test positive for COVID-19, you should to self-isolate until you recover. So the second one, identify and quarantine all close contacts of infected people and thus those develop symptoms so that they can be isolated if they are infected and require care. So it is important to identify and quarantine all close contacts of infected people, not to prevent the spread of viruses to the community. And the third one, use fabric mask in specific situations. For example, in public places where there is community transmission and where other prevention measures such as physical distancing are not possible. So in using fabric mask, clean your hands before you put your mask on, before and after you take it off, and after you touch it anytime. So the fourth one is use of contact and droplets, precaution by health workers caring for suspected and confirmed COVID-19 patients, and use of airborne precautions when aerosol generating procedures are performed. Continuous use of medical masks by health workers and caregivers working in all clinical areas during all routine activities throughout the entire shift. So the medical workers and caregivers are required to continue to use their mask because they are prone to viruses because they are working on the hospital, most especially the health workers. So the last one, at all times, practice frequent hand hygiene, physical distancing from others when possible, and respiratory etiquette, avoid crowded places, close contact, setting and confined and enclosed spaces in poor ventilation, wear fabric masks when enclosed, overcrowded spaces, and protect others, and ensure good environmental ventilation in all closed settings and appropriate environmental cleaning and disinfection. So we need to follow this COVID-19 prevention, in order for us to not getting infected with the virus.
Thank you for that very informative discussion, Mr. Tilos. And now, to end this reporting, let us welcome Ms. Ancharis Arnaez to discuss the last slides of this presentation, which is the generalization.
Now, for generalization. COVID-19 changed the way we live, we play, and we act worldwide. The pace of change that brought about COVID-19 that has resulted a global pandemic that make a threat to everyone. So, COVID-19 no is a change ato ang way of living kay sa mga interactions nato face to face kay now virtual na lang. Nag-adjust ta sa new normal because of this global pandemic. And na-threaten ta ani kay kung asa ni gikan na virus, nahadlok ta if mataknon ta ani na virus, magkasakit ta and our family. That's why it's a big threat for us. And we should be aware and conscious by following the rules and regulations of the World Health Organization as well as the Department of Health. In this case, awareness is important for us. Dapat aware ta sa mga rules and regulations sa World Health Organization and sa Department of Health so that we will be prepared and for us to know how to prevent the virus. Also, We should appreciate the effort of our beloved frontliners as they are the one who put their lives on risk just to save our community. So, we are very thankful to our frontliners because their work is not easy because they are risking their life just to save us as our community. I salute to the frontliners because of their strong and determination for their job. Now, this is the time for a global solidarity and assistance, particularly to the most vulnerable members of our societies, especially in rising and developing countries. Only by working together we can overcome this pandemic. Yes, we can overcome this pandemic because it is just a pandemic and we are Pinoy. As I observe for us, kita nga mga Pinoy kay whenever there's a lot of problems na ma-encounter nato sa life nato, ang mga Pinoy stay lagi hapon na sa positive because being a positive kay mas madali masulbad ang problema, mas dali ma-overcome, mas naakay mahuna-huna nga way, the best way para mahuman ka na nga trials. And so mao to, keep safe everyone. Always remember, prevention is better than cure and health is wealth. Thank you and God bless us all.
Thank you very much, Miss Ancharis. And now, it is the end of our topic, which is the Unit 3 Specific Topics and Issue, particularly in Lesson 5 COVID-19. Thank you very much. God bless us all. Stay safe and healthy. Soar high, future educators.